I think there's some consolation in knowing that today, the entire church, everywhere in the world, is praying for all who have died. And today, as a community, we gather this evening to pray for those who've died, trusting that God will hear and answer our prayers so that our loved ones may know eternal light, happiness, and peace. As we remember and pray for our loved ones who have died, the reality that we ourselves must one day die is brought home to us in an insistent way as a reminder. Our days can seem so busy, so strained, moving from one thing to the next. But death reminds us of how precious life is and of how that gift is lived once. What brought this reality home for me personally in a new way was that recently I was going over some old videos from family and looking at some old photos of when I was young and even before I was born. There's so many memories that I was able to relive as I watched those videos and looked on those pictures. Some family members and friends I recognized, while others I didn't know who they were. As I was going through these videos and looking at these pictures, I found myself imagining, what did those familiar and unfamiliar faces do an hour after those videos were made or that picture was taken? Right? What were their worries? What was in their heart? What were their priorities at that time? What was important to them that very day, at that very moment? What was going on in their lives? And how important or critical do those things seem now, decades later? Do they carry the same weight and importance? Do they remember? Were all those people in these old videos still around? Naturally, my thoughts were drawn to those faces that have already gone to the Lord, those who have already passed, relatives, friends, a sibling. Then I began to think about the reality that I'll someday depart this earth as well. That one day the Lord is going to call me back to Him. That one day you and I will die. You and I will die. Friends, today we're brought face to face with the one thing that deeply affects every single person in this world: death. Why do countless cultures embrace a piety or a devotion or a tradition that seems to focus so intently on death? Very few cultures avoid that topic. Many cultures embrace it. Why does the church invite its faithful so insistently on this day to pray for the faithful departed? Why is it so important, if after all they're in a better place? Friends, part of the reason why we commemorate the souls of the faithful departed is not only to pray for those who have died, to remember their example and the love we had for them, but it's also to pray that we, the living, may be given the strength, the courage, and the knowledge to confront the reality of death in our lives with a hope that reaches beyond the grave. We know all too well that with death comes the experience of pain, of fear, anguish, anger. But as a people of faith, we also believe that death has forever changed by the Lord's victory over it in His resurrection. We're reminded of that as well, and above all else, I would say. Death has forever changed because of Jesus. In life, because of Him, Death is no longer a period in a sentence of life. It's a comma. It's been forever changed by the hope of reunion with those faces that we miss so much. It's been forever changed by the knowledge that we don't face death alone. That we have a God who walks with us in life and even in death. Friends, because Jesus rose from the dead, because this wasn't the last image we have of him, the light of hope shines in the darkness of death. And that light, it casts aside the mystery of death and reveals to us a new beginning, not a final end. And you see, because Jesus rose from the dead, not only did he unravel the fear of death, but he enhances the meaning of life. Today we pray for the souls of the faithful departed for sure. And it is a beautiful and loving and tender devotion. We pray for our deceased loved ones that may now be experiencing in eternity what our hearts so deeply long for here on earth. And yet we also pray for ourselves, that as we go on with the journey of life, we may be more readily disposed to share our lives in life and peace with others. Friends, may we in the here and now live our lives with hearts full of love and souls full of faith as we await the day when love itself, God, will bring us back to our heavenly homeland. And it's there where we will indeed laugh and rejoice with those who have gone before us. And the pain we experience now is replaced by love altogether. And until that day, we pray and remember our faithful departed, trusting that they are now in the loving hands of God, the same hands that are consoling and guiding us here.